everyone. Welcome to the ComiXology Originals interview series for Amazon's Virtual Con. My name is Kiwi and I work at ComiXology, a cloud-based digital comic service with a huge library of comics, graphic novels, and manga. Today I'm here with the creators behind Youth, a ComiXology Original series about a queer couple, Frank and River, who leave their bigoted Midwest town in pursuit of California. Well, their car breaks down on the way. They meet up with a group of misfits, and then things get wild. And with that, let me introduce writer Curt Pires and colorist Dee Cunniffe. Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining me today. So obviously, normally we would be doing this probably together at Comic-Con, but since we're in the virtual world, we're doing it via Zoom. How have you guys been faring during quarantine?
I'll let Curt go.
No, you go first. It's okay.
This is, as a comics colorist, this is how I've been living my last decade anyway, working remotely in my back room and talking to people over Skype or Zoom or whatever. So I've been totally prepared for this. It's the only difference is the kids are here all the time, so there's no school or play dates or anything like that.
And what about you, Curt?
Yeah, I mean, I've just been grateful for all the work and sort of staying busy with that. Took on a bunch of work at the end of last year before I knew that the world was going to be shut down and I was going to be stuck in my crib. So I've been actually kind of happy about that, but still, I mean, a little bit stir crazy.
Let's talk about Youth, obviously, which is why we're here. Who came up with this idea? How did this come to you in a dream?
So I think I was just thinking about superhero comics and how dissatisfied I was with them, and specifically I was thinking about how when the X-Men first started, it was really like a metaphor for social change and social justice, right? It was pretty tied to the civil rights movement, all this stuff, and how progressive and ahead of its time was, and just how Marvel doesn't do anything even remotely close to that anymore. And so I was like, well, if they're not going to do it, I might as well do it. It seems like there's a good story in this. And so I just started thinking about the idea, and I thought I sort of a mashup of the running away from home road movie like Badlands or True Romance with the superhero narrative. But then I was like, well, what if instead of being a guy and a girl, it was just two queer guys, because it hasn't really been done before, and I'm like a huge emerging audience of new readers who I think aren't really represented in media as much as they should be. So it just felt kind of like a home run, to be honest. So we just started slowly working on it. We had sort of a long development cycle on this one. No one really wanted to do it because of how rough around the edges certain parts of it are, which is the thing that most people love about it.
Totally.
But we eventually ended up partnering with Chip and ComiXology to bring it into the world, and now it's sort of the most successful and beloved thing we've worked on. So it's really funny how no one wanted to do it. Now it's you can just rub it in their faces pretty much.
Absolutely. And you guys have all worked together before, right? And even Alex. So how was it any different working this time, or you're like, well, this just makes sense, let's all come together and do this?
Yeah, I think we've been working together for maybe 4 or 5 years or something, and this is probably our third kind of big project. And I love working with Alex. He's a great artist, and Curt always writes really good stories. And I think you find a team that you really gel with. And as Curt says, it's a very professional working relationship we all have, and it's great that we can work together in the future as well. That's good to know. And the great thing with working with Alex as well is that in the time that we've been working together, he's really grown as an artist, and he's become really accomplished. And in that period, it's allowed me as well to develop as a colorist. And because the projects that we work on are always so different, it's really good that I can come in with a new approach to how I'm going to color in each of our books. Because I think coloring would become a chore for me if I was just doing the same thing every day. And when you're working on different books, even with the same artist that you've previously worked with, it's really good to stretch your muscles and develop a new style to work with. So, this book is very different looking to any of the previous projects we've worked on. So we're a good team, and I enjoy working with Curt and Alex.
Yeah, it's really good to like have that trusting relationship, especially when obviously making comics isn't the easiest thing, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. So
it's not even that it's easy. It's a really long game as well. And when did we start kind of throwing ideas at this? It must be about 3 years ago, Curt, was it?
Yeah, it was a while. I honestly lost track, but it was 2 or 3 years from the first sort of email to now. So it's like, yeah, it's like you got to have a team you can stick with, because 2 to 3 years, that's an intense working relationship,
Yeah, definitely. So I want to reminisce, obviously this is about teenagers, and being a teenager is not the easiest thing to go through. So I just wanted to reminisce going back to like our own teenage years. So what were you guys like as teenagers?
Well, I was a teenager in the early 90s, and it was quite easy then. No social media, no,
Right.
there was no electronics. Everything was in the real world, and we got up to mischief, and we did things we shouldn't have done. But I think it was easy to be a teenager pre-millennium, and I don't know how anybody deals with being a teenager now, because the world is a rough place now. And I think that the thing is that we kind of lived in a small place in the world when we growing up without the internet and all that sort of thing, whereas now teenagers just have, and kids, they just have the entire world thrown at them all day long. And I can see that the struggles for mental health and well-being in a world that's so massive and so fucked up, really. So
Really is.
I enjoyed being a teenager at a time where we lived in the real world.
Yeah, absolutely. And Curt?
Geez, I don't even know where to start. Yeah, I think I'm younger than D, obviously. So like, when I was a teenager, there was sort of the early social media, but it's not like it's now. It's nowhere near as
Right.
crazy. I don't know. My teenage years were kind of weird. I think there's elements of my teenage years in like almost like every character of youth in different ways.
That was
So,
another thing I was going to ask. Like, does that translate into the story, your own experiences?
so it's like sort of like therapeutic in a way to unpack all this shit through the characters and the lens of this narrative. But
Right.
other than that, I don't know if I really want to get too deep into it.
You don't have to get too deep into
I
it.
don't need people on the internet knowing what I was like as a teenager.
No.
Like,
We do not have to go there. So let's talk a little bit about character development. We were just talking about that a little bit, how you see a lot of yourself in these characters. Are they based on anyone that we know? Like, I know that the Don Thunder character you describe as a bootleg Nick Fury. Are there any other characters that you sort of picked from like media or like people that you knew or your friends or yourself?
yeah, well, like, so the two main characters, the River characters, obviously like inspired by like River Phoenix, and the other characters sort of an amalgamation of this rapper I like named Kevin Abstract and Frank Ocean. And then like some of the stuff of the other characters is loosely based on like people I know or stuff like that, but I try to not I don't do like a one-to-one thing because I feel like that's exploitative, and I shouldn't be people in general, you shouldn't be putting people in your stories without their consent. So
and then moving from character development to like creating the scenes, what do you guys have any favorite scenes to draw or to color and to write about that are in the story?
Well, I really enjoyed the scene in the disco or in the nightclub.
Same,
I
that's my
really got
favorite
to,
for
yeah,
sure.
like you know, some of the pages were really dense and there was a lot going on, and you know, really with the coloring was trying to move the reader through that scene with you know the contrasting colors in the panel backgrounds and that type of thing, and also you know. I think I achieved it. I think you can feel the music happening on those pages. You know, obviously Alex did the heavy lifting on that, and I just came in with the colors. But you know, you have to decide how you're going to work those pages. And for ages, I've been wanting to try kind of bisexualizing color choices, and you know, there's loads of movies that have you know Atomic Blonde and
Yep.
what's that Keanu Reeves one where he's a serial killer? John Wick. Like that kind of lighting, real kind of dark and moody, but neon and in your face. And they were really enjoyable pages to do. And then there's also the pages that are just, you know, scenery and, you know, the establishing shots that you can really put a lot of feeling into, because, you know, you want to, I think the very first page is the opening shot on the wide shot of the town.
Yes.
I really wanted to convey the heat and the dustiness of of the scene and really make you feel that. So I think pretty much every page is like that, where you know you look at the page and it's like, oh, well, I could just color this, or I can try and convey some more like atmosphere and the feeling of where these people are, and that's, you know, that's a really enjoyable part of the process, is trying to convey emotion and everything into a page. And I'm not sure if I fully achieve that every time I do it, but that's, you know, every page is a joy.
Yeah, and colors are obviously a super, super important part of bringing the page to life. And I think you do a great job.
Oh, thank you very much.
well, I think I agree with you guys. I like the club part a lot. I think it's I think what I like so much about it is like it captures the feeling of like wandering into a club when you're like kind of out of it, to put it mildly. But I love that whole sequence. I think is really incredible. And then like the other stuff I like is a lot of the location based stuff. So like in the last issue, I love the big shot of the ocean and sort of Frank sitting on the ravine, and then the stuff in the first issue that's also in the fourth issue where they're sitting on sort of the bluffs and looking at the city. Like I love that kind of stuff.
That beach scene with Frank actually is pretty much lifted straight out of Sandman, with Lucifer sitting on the beach. It's like that I done an issue of Lucifer recently where that scene was in it, where there was kind of a flashback to Lucifer sitting on the beach, and I've always loved that page. So when I saw that page come in from Alex, it's like, oh yes, I get to lift some of that mood and atmosphere from one of my classic all-time favorites.
Nice.
So another one of my favorite things about this series is how you insert tracks to listen to while you're reading. And I've never experienced that before, and I thought that was super, super cool. How did you decide to do that? Who selected with the songs? Did you guys work together to select the songs, or how did that go?
So yeah, I did all of that. It was just like an idea I had because music in film and TV is it's such a useful tool because you can like really emotionally manipulate the viewer really just through
Right.
music. So I was thinking, well, how can I bring that to comics? And I've been fascinated with that for a while. Uh, and yeah, for a while I would just think about like I wish since it's digital, people could like I could license the music and then have it actually playing, but obviously we don't have the budget to license all this music. So I just went with telling people sort of what to play at which scenes. They can sort of soundtrack it themselves or totally
Mm-hmm.
ignore it. But I think I tried to pick music that like would add another layer to the scenes and fit emotionally. So people seem to have liked it. That's one element that like keeps coming up that people talk to me about. So it's just a small thing. So guess I'm glad we got some mileage out of it.
Yeah, it is really cool because, like, especially like you said, it's so important to set the scene with the score in a movie or a TV show, and you kind of get that in this, which is really awesome. So without any spoilers, what is next for youth?
Yeah. So next, we're actually like just got the first 20 or so pages in last night from Alex. It's a 40-page first issue / graphic novella
Wow.
called it's called Badlands, and it introduces two new characters, uh, a guy and a girl who we saw a bit of an issue for, who
Mm-hmm.
also get powers, but who sort of really reveals their backstory. It's in sort of a locale based on a bit where I live, which I guess the closest thing in the U.S. is somewhere like Montana. So it's like the prairies. It's there's sort of like lower income kids with not a lot of options, and so it's sort of like a dark crime that dovetails into the world of youth. So I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's really cool.
That sounds awesome. So we'll see some of the characters back in there again from youth.
Yes. So the first chapter is introducing the new characters, and then everyone sort of crisscrosses and meets up through the rest of the series. It's pretty much like a giant sort of puzzle, or I don't know how to really say it, but we're trying some cool stuff. So I think people will hopefully like it.
Very cool. And also, obviously, congrats on, getting picked up by studios. That's really awesome. You guys must be really excited about that.
Yeah, I'm talking a lot, so D chime in at any time. But
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. You could do the talking.
uh, we're obviously really happy about that. It's like again like such a crazy journey to from starting work on the comic to uh, getting the TV show going. And I'm really happy. I've been working on the TV show a lot. I'm really involved with it. I'm writing the pilot and executive producing. So Amazon's been great about like letting me help shape the show and try and try and not lose what makes the comic unique and people love it so much as we move it to a streaming series.
Right. Very
You
cool.
gotta
And
you
go ahead.
gotta let them know that they can fly me over to help out with the lighting and stuff if that's an option.
I think that
Yeah,
should definitely be an option. You should
we
definitely be there, D.
yeah we're gonna get D. He's gonna be our expert of bisexual lighting.
Yes.
Yes. Totally. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, Curt and Dee, for giving us a deeper look onto youth and how that was created and where it's headed. You guys can you can pick up Youth now on ComiXology. And if you're a Kindle Unlimited or Amazon Prime or ComiXology Unlimited member, you can read it for free. And don't forget to check out the rest of the events on the Amazon Virtual Con website. There's a bunch of exciting content that will be displayed throughout the weekend. And stay safe out there, and please wear a mask, and bye.
See ya.